Okay, so students, welcome to my audiovisual class. So in this class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to C programming and data structures. This pertains to second semester theory course ELTA CC204TH. So it's the second semester course for electronics honor students. So first of all, let me just shift this. Okay, as you can see, you have in the syllabus C programming language, introduction and other aspects of C programming. You move on to decision making, branching, looping, structures, and then you have introduction to C++. Now, C is a subset of C++, as you learn. So once you are done with C, you'd have less difficulty understanding the aspects of an object-oriented programming language as C++ is called. Then you also have data structures and searching, sorting, etc. Now, since all of you are locked down in your homes and you have very little time to prepare for your exams, what I do is I would help you to learn this topic from home. For that, you would need to have a computer at home. Nowadays, even there are some apps which you can install on your mobile phone where you can run a C program. But I presume that you have a computer at home, so I would help you install a free C compiler which runs on Windows, since most of you have Windows in your PCs. If you have Linux, then C compiler in the form of GNU GCC rather, is already installed. So most of you, I presume, have instead a Windows operating system in your computers. So I'd help you with uh, learning how to install a free C compiler and preferably an IDE. IDE is an integrated development environment, the entire package which includes a compiler and an editor where you can run your C program. Rather, you can type in your C program and then you can compile and execute your C program and see the results for yourself. So what you have to do is you have to connect to the internet and then you have to Google for free C compilers for Windows or free C IDEs for Windows. You'd come up with uh, many examples, many softwares. One of the best I have found is Dev C++. So this is the Dev C++ which you can download from this site. So you don't worry about the URL, and because once you Google it, you very easily get to know of this site. Another C compiler, free C compiler, is Turbo C++. I googled it and found this. Now this Turbo C++ is very obsolete actually, but when you, the honor students, when you go to other colleges at the time of your practical examinations, most likely you'd find that this software is installed in the PCs, the computers over there. So it would be easier for you to use this Turbo C++ for Windows. Anyway, but since it's obsolete and since you are learning for the first time, I would rather suggest you install the Dev C++ compiler. Okay, so what you have to do is you just press the download and it downloads an executable file onto your machine. So first what we need to do, as I had already mentioned, you have to download the executable, and I've already done that before. And so here you have the executable file, setup.exe file. So you just click on it and the setup process starts. You have to allow this app to make changes to your computer. Let's minimize this. So something is happening in the background, so it will take some time, so we have to be patient. let's remove this. Yeah, let's take it somewhere else. Yeah. So as you can see, setup is loading. It's unpacking all the files. So unpacking is complete. You have to select a language. English is the default, so we press OK. And you have to agree to the license agreement. And here you have to choose the components. So amongst the different components, the most important one is the GCC 4.9.2 compiler. This is the actual C compiler, which comes included with the Dev C++ package or the IDE. So by no means should you uncheck this box. And as far as language files is concerned, you can always uncheck it, because we would be happy to have to work with only English. And let's remove old configuration files and press next. So this is the install location, C program files, the default install locations. We should be happy with this, and we press install. So it takes some time again. Let's wait for this to finish. Okay, so it's done, and this tick mark suggests that we run this right after the installation is finished. So we press this finish button and we wait for the IDE to open up. Okay, here you have to select your language. We press next, and then we have to select your theme. This is the font and color and all. We keep the defaults, press next, and it says it has been configured successfully. So we are done with the installation part. So this is what the Dev C++ IDE looks the first time it's opened. So what we need to do is we have to open a file, or rather we have to create a new file using this IDE. So we press file and this new, and then press file, then new, and then source file. Source file is the C source file wherein you actually write your C program. So we will be writing our C program in this window, and we need to save it as a C source file. So how do you do that? We press file again, press save as, and we navigate to a particular folder or directory. Here the directory folder is already created. It's called C programming. You can name it anything. And here as save as type, you have to put C source file. You have to choose C source files, and as file name you can say give any file name, but it has to end with .c. That is the file extension should be .c, and then you press save. So now let's write a simple C program. So is it test2.c? Yeah. So I'm writing a very simple C program.
So our program is finished.
So this is our very rudimentary C program. We have to save this after we are done. We would get into the nitty-gritties of the program later. First of all, I will show how you may compile this program and execute it. Now what is compilation? Now this C program has been written using something called C syntax. That means some set of rules that you need to follow, but it's written in plain English. Now the computer or the microprocessor inside the computer knows nothing of English. It understands only zeros and ones, that is binary digits. So what the compiler does, the compiler is itself a program. It converts this C source file written in English into binary digits which the microprocessor can understand, so that when we execute the program can be executed by the microprocessor itself and we can obtain the result. So how do you do that? You press this button execute, press compile, and see here the compilation process has started. It's taking a little time. Okay, the compilation is finished. Errors are 0, warnings are 0. If there were any errors in the program, they would have been shown in this window. So since there are no errors, we can press the execute button again and press run. So run means basically you are executing the program, and as you see, the result is execute 2, execute 2, execute 5. So this is how you write a program in the Dev C++ IDE. Is basically the Dev C++ editor, and after having written the source program, you can compile the program, execute it, everything using this IDE. So you don't have to get out of this IDE. So that is the speciality or the importance of an IDE or integrated development environment. Next we move on to actual understanding of this simple program. So what does this simple program do? And once we're done with that, we'll move on to more complicated programs and the different aspects of C language that I had shown at the outset that are included in your syllabus one by one. Okay, so very quickly we go into the nitty-gritties of this very simple program. So as you see, the main program is written over here. So this is our main program. If you can use a marker, let me do it. Okay, so this part is the main program, and let me erase this. Let me see. Okay, and this include stdio.h, it's outside the main program. This is called a preprocessor directive. That means it is a directive to the compiler to link this stdio.h, it's a header file, to basically link this file, which again points to some backend work which has to do with this printf function which is included in the main program. So unless you include this file with your main program, this function would not work. Okay, so this is called a preprocessor directive, and it starts with a hash. This symbol is called a hash. Now the main program is written over here. Here you have x, y as variables. They are of type integers. They are of integer type. That means though I have written 2.0 over here, I could well have written 2 over here. That would have made no difference. In fact, to be correct, we should write 2 over here. So I make the small corrections. But even if you write again 2.0, it would convert it to an integer, and basically 2 would be assigned to this variable x. Later on you will see that instead of 2.0, if you had written say 2.4, then what would have been assigned to x? Only 2. So it would have been truncated. And here the value of x, which is 2 from the previous step, gets added to 3, and the new value, that is 5, is assigned to 1. So this equality sign is basically an operator. It is called the assignment operator. So you have two variables into which you have assigned two values, and those two values you are printing on the screen using this printf function. And how do you do that? you are writing something within double quotes. So everything that you write within double quotes gets printed on the screen. But wait, not the %d. So these characters, they have special significance which I'll touch upon later, but here it is sufficient to understand that the values of x and y, they are printed in place of %d and %d. Now since x and y are of type integer, that is type int, therefore you are writing %d, you are writing d. If they were real variables, that is of type double or float, then you should have written, or rather you must have to write %f for float variables, or %lf for double type variables. And finally, when you are done, you write return 0. That means the main function is basically returning no values. It's returning basically void. In some compilers, instead of using int or writing int in front of main, you just write void main if the compiler allows you to do so, and then you need not write return 0. So this is just an introduction to a very simple introductory C program, C source file. We stop over here